Hi, welcome to our yin yoga class for springtime. So, the goal of our practice today is to bring in some balance and some ease and some flow into this period of transition. So, if you're someone who lives up in the mountains and you do that kind of seasonal lifestyle, it can be a time where we're moving from the winter season into whatever is coming next. So, it can be a time of kind of uncertainty. So we'll try and feel grounded and feel a little bit more balanced in that season of change. If you're not up in the mountains and you're just kind of going by your day to day, still the springtime can be a kind of a quite a rapid change from the winter to the summer. So we'll try and greet that season with some flow, some balance, some ease. So according to yin yoga and the five element theory, spring is associated with the wood element, so we want to be strong and stable, but also yielding and flexible and malleable. So that ability to feel grounded and feel solid and stable, so by holding poses a little bit longer and creating a little bit more kind of stability in poses, but also increasing that feeling of flow and that flexibility that's going to allow us to greet this spring season with that feeling of ease and of balance. So for today's practice, you might need a couple of blocks, so feel free to grab your blocks if you need them. Take time to grab anything else that you know that you might like to have, and we'll meet down in a wide knee child's pose. So your knees will come kind of about mat distance apart, toes can come together. And then you'll sink your hips back onto your heels and then just slowly walk your arms out and stretch your way down. You might just feel that little kind of reaching together of your shoulder blades, and then you'll rest your forehead onto your mat. If it doesn't quite reach, feel free to grab a block or rest your head onto a cushion. And once you get there, maybe you'll have a kind of little wiggle, feeling like you might need to kind of shake out anything so that you can come into that stillness. And we'll be holding poses for kind of between 2 and 3 minutes throughout this practice. So find your way into a variation of that child's pose that feels as though you could stay for a good few minutes here. So you might just begin to feel your pelvis become heavier as your hips just drop back towards your heels. You might feel that little stretch on the inner edges of your thighs as you feel your abdomen and your torso just completely release down to your mat. And so that feeling of shoulders just gently kind of creeping towards each other behind your back, that allows your upper chest to stay open. And the key here is to allow the musculature of your body to relax. So when we soften the muscles and we let go of that engaging of the muscles, we encourage that flow of energy into joints and into connective tissues. And that's kind of the goal of our yin yoga practice. So joints become more malleable, more flexible, more mobility there. So just enjoy about another minute in your child's pose and just connect into your rhythm of breath. You don't need to force your breath at all. Your breath can just be an easy and balanced flow. You might find some sensations arising in the body. But as long as those sensations aren't causing pain, can you just kind of sit and be with that discomfort? So increasing our tolerance. Just keep an eye on my timer. You can just enjoy maybe 3 more deep breaths here. And then as you prepare yourself to come up, Perhaps you'll just stretch out your arms, have a feeling of kind of awakening back into your fingertips. And then you can hinge your hips forward and just bring your knees slightly closer, so around hips distance apart. Feel yourself just come into all fours and maybe just take some sways from side to side with your hips. And then we'll find our way into a sphinx pose. So you'll bring your elbows down, just walk your knees back and allow your pelvis to drop onto the mat. So hands can either stay in that same line as your shoulders and your elbows, or they can come into prayer. They can kind of rest together, just wherever's going to be comfortable and wherever you can feel supported onto your elbows as we find that gentle shape of a back bend. So it might help to begin to press down through the tops of your feet. And then you'll feel that little activation of your glutes and of your hamstrings. So find that activation, maybe feel a reaching of the crown of your head. And then can you maybe soften your legs and just allow your shoulders to kind of find a neutral position. So you find that curve along your spine and that gentle opening up of your chest. So from there, your head can either kind of look forward, or you can just allow your neck to come into line with your spine. And if at any time it feels kind of pinchy in your lower back or uncomfortable, maybe just come back down to that press of your toes and that engagement of your glutes, and that'll just relieve if there's any discomfort in your lower back. Otherwise, if everything's okay, can we come back to that softening sensation of muscles of the body? And you can imagine as though your breath travels along your spine, and perhaps around your rib cage as you open up to your chest. So just encouraging that shape of a back bend. And once you've found your way into your supported shape, you feel that sensation of stretch, but without creating discomfort or pain. But you should be able to feel something, so it's not just a kind of dumping of your body into a certain shape. So adjust however you might need to. And then for this last minute here, if everything feels okay, we can go a little bit deeper, and you'll just walk your hands towards the top corners of your mat. And you can come up into a seal pose. So if you try that and then just doesn't feel great for your lower back, just come back down to Sphinx. Or if everything is okay, maybe you just find perhaps that deeper arc of your spine and feeling that activating sensation of the back bend here. Perhaps 3 more breaths as you open up. And then when you're ready to release, you'll just slide your way back down. You make a little pillow with your hands. Turn your head just in one direction and almost feel like a kind of boost of sensation along the whole length of your spine. So after having activated with your back bend, now you feel like a rush of sensation that returns, a rebound of sensation. So maybe a vibrant sensation along your spine. When you're ready to, you'll bring your hands back down by your rib cage. You'll press your way up, back into all fours. And just roll through cat-cow a couple of times, so as though you're kind of spreading that lovely activated sensation along your spine as you move up and down. So gently connecting with your breath. Feeling free to just move however you might feel comfortable. If you like to move from side to side, feel maybe that little stretch on the outer seams of your body coming into liver and gallbladder meridians. And then we're going to come into a dragon pose. So you might want your blocks here. You'll just stretch back with your right leg to begin and just flex back through right heel. And then you can bring your right foot just on the outside of your right hand. So if your hands come easily down onto the mat here, that's great. If they don't, this is where you can grab blocks and just bring hands onto your blocks. Also, if it's uncomfortable for that left knee, feel free to just pad up the left knee. Your right foot will be slightly over to the right hand side, and your toes will be in that same line as the knee. Hands on the inside of the leg, and maybe have a feeling of reaching and extending your spine. And then just allowing your pelvis to perhaps drop deeper. So if you can see, my right foot is just on the outside of my hands. My hands are supported. And again, we'll just pause for about 3 minutes here. Feeling that opening up on the inner edges of your hips, the inside of your pelvis. And just trying as much as you can to release and soften the muscles of your legs. The muscles of your arms will be slightly engaged just to keep you supported, but not kind of gripping or tensing at all. Instead, just allowing a feeling of softness there, and your gaze can be forward, or you can just let your chin round down towards your chest. And just finding your way into the shape where you feel that sensation around inner edge of right hip, maybe front of right thigh. Not worrying too much about the particular shape of your body, but rather where you feel sensation in your body. Feel free to close your eyes at any time as well. So you just allow yourself to kind of soften your way down, finding that nice flow with your breath. And if you feel as though sensation is kind of diminishing and you want to deepen slightly, you can always walk forward onto your left forearm and maybe bring right hand just to the inside of your right thigh. That'll intensify a little bit around the right hip. So just find where suits you and find where you almost feel like an edge of sensation, where you feel like a boundary. And as though you could breathe into that boundary. So we have another minute here. If you want to, both our forearms can come down onto the mat. And if it becomes too intense, feel free to back away. Otherwise, we just try and engage and indulge in that stillness. You can almost imagine as though the sensation around your right hip, as though there's kind of a pooling and a centering of energy around there. Maybe 3 more breaths. And then we'll slowly begin to make our way back up. So if you're on your forearms, you'll come back up onto your arms. On an out breath, we'll just flex our way back. So hands can be on the inside of the right leg. They can be over to a slight angle if you like. And if you're flexing your toes back, just let your toes soften and feel your right ankle and your right heel ground down. So you might feel a return of sensation down the outer edge of your right leg and feel that intensity of that sensation into the inner edge. So just like a balancing of those two sensations here in our modified Ardha Hanumanasana. We won't stay for too long. Can you let the muscles of your right leg relax? Might find as though you can kind of sink in a little bit deeper. Finding that flow with breath. And then when you're ready to bring your hands back inside, so you'll turn back towards the front of your mat. Your right foot can just walk towards the center. Just find your way into a lunge. So you might feel almost like a cool sensation around the joint of the right hip. We're going to come into sleeping swan pose, which you might also know as pigeon pose, called swan pose in yin yoga. So we'll set up with our right foot towards the left edge of your mat. Your shin will come down. Left leg will slide back. And just making sure that the spine is centered there. So if you need to use your blocks, a block can always slide underneath your right hip or underneath your left thigh if you feel like you need some extra support there. Or if everything feels okay, you can walk your way down onto your forearms, perhaps making a pillow with your hands to just rest your head down. And just remembering here that if there's pain in the knee, the option is to come up and find your way into a figure 4 pose, so you can lie onto your back and make that same shape, either holding onto your shin or behind your leg, and you'll still get that lovely sense of activating around the back, around the outside of your right hip. Or if everything's okay in your sleeping swan or your pigeon, just have a feeling of kind of releasing any fidgeting or any need to kind of move the body, so that then you can have that feeling of your pelvis just being drawn down towards your mat. Simply gravity that draws the pelvis down. We'll have another couple of minutes here. So again, just finding that edge of sensation, finding where you feel sensation of stretch. Imagining as though you could direct your breath to that part of your body. So around your right hip. Like an energizing sensation for your right hip. But just embracing that stillness, that feeling of calm and of ease and of flow. Breath flowing in and out, inhale, flowing into exhale. Feeling how your body just opens up the longer that we remain here. So you're opening up channels for breath, for energy to flow through. Again, maybe just 3 more breaths here. When you're ready to come up, it'll be a kind of gradual return, coming up onto your hands. We'll actually just sit down onto the right outer thigh. So feel that kind of release of sensation in the right leg, and you'll bring your left leg up and over and around. So your left foot will come on the outside edge of right foot, and we'll come into a twist over towards your left side. So you can either hug left knee in, or you can find that hook around on the outside edge of your elbow, and your left hand will just be behind you. So maybe you begin by kind of intensifying and creating some tension in that twist. And then as you exhale, you can release your right arm down and you can almost just soften ever so slightly so that it becomes an intensity of that twist that feels as though you could stay here for a few minutes so your head can relax. Maybe drawing your awareness down to the ball of your pelvis and almost feeling that grounded sensation of both of your sits bones being anchored down towards the earth. And as you sink into that sensation, can you feel the muscles around your hips soften? And a feeling of being able to direct the flow of your energy into the joints of your hips, to ligaments, connective tissues. Breath's just an easy flow. Feeling your body both settled, stable, but that twist also feeling nice and flexible, malleable, yielding like wood. Again, feeling free to close eyes if you like. Just enjoy around a minute more in your twist. Maybe your awareness travels from kind of the center of your spine to the outer edges of your hips. Maybe there's about 3 more deep breaths, easy breaths. And then there's an unwinding. So your right arm will release and you'll feel that tension in the spine soften. Just counter twist the other way, so over to your right side just for a moment. Maybe just a breath, center of your spine. And then just turn your way back to the center and we'll just stretch out with both of the legs. So you might feel like that return of sensation down both of your legs. And there might be a difference between each side. We haven't moved on to the left side yet. Feel free to just move your ankles, your toes, however you might like to. And then we'll find our way back into all fours, maybe just walking hands ever so slightly forward and just taking a moment in down dog between sides. So you might just really engage into that feeling of stability in down dog, feeling your limbs stable, and then feeling a flexibility and a length along your spine, indulging into that wood element. Maybe right leg feeling slightly different to left. Just taking another breath, and then we'll bring the knees back down and we'll move over to our left side. So beginning with dragon with our left foot. Oh, we didn't stretch back. So we'll stretch back through left ankle, and then left foot will come and step on the outside of your left hand. So just adjusting to where you feel comfortable. Remembering if you need your blocks for your hands there, you can take your blocks. Your right toes can tuck or untuck, whatever feels best to you. And remembering that if it's different on this side than it was on the other, that is absolutely normal. So your intensity or your kind of tolerance for the intensity of that stretch might be different on this side to the other. So Meet yourself as you are. Can you find that softening and that feeling of the draw of gravity for your pelvis down towards your mat? Feel like a sinking down, softening of your shoulders, softening of your gaze. You might find it comfortable to roll slightly to the outside edge of your left foot. Can you find that balance with your breath? About halfway through here, and if you feel as though the sensation is kind of diminishing and you want to maintain some intensity, you can always come down onto right forearm, or maybe both of your forearms, just depending on wherever you get to. Maybe you feel that sinking of your pelvis, that stretch on the front of your right thigh, inner edge of your left. Allowing there to be that yielding sensation of the body into whatever shape it finds itself in. You might like to bring your left hand just on the inner edge of the thigh if you want to intensify even more. And then maybe just those 3 deep breaths, beginning to signal to the body that it's time to begin to move out of the pose. And at the end of those 3 breaths, just coming back onto your hands if you are on your forearms. And then balancing that sensation out with a stretch back as your hips ascend towards the back of your mat. You find your way into that kind of modification of our Ardha Hanumanasana, half split. So let there be a heavy sensation in the right heel. Feeling of right heel just sinking towards your mat. And it feels as though there's a length between the joints of the left leg. So you find your own intensity, you find wherever you want to get to. Just a minute here, so beginning to prepare your way out. Just another breath. And then walking your hands back forward. Maybe you feel that return of sensation around your pelvis and around the left side as you prepare for your sleeping swan or your pigeon with your left foot over to the right side. So your right leg slides back, and if it's different on this side and there's pain in the left knee, come back and come onto your figure 4 pose. You might need blocks on this side, even if you didn't on the other. So find whatever you need to, whatever supports, whatever modifications you need, and then gently begin to find your way down, perhaps onto your elbows, maybe your forehead rests onto the back of your hands. Perhaps your hands slide forward and your torso just sinks down towards your mat. But take your time to find your way in. We have 3 minutes here. So just make sure that you're feeling that sensation of stretch. You're feeling like an activation around your left hip. But there's no gripping, there's no force almost. feels as though your body can just yield its way into that shape. And of course, it doesn't matter what the shape looks like, where our awareness is kind of tuned in deeper into the sensation of the stretch rather than how the pose looks. So you maybe feel that compression on the front of the left hip, that length around outer edge of left hip. You might feel a stretch on the front of the right thigh. You feel your pelvis drawn towards your mat. Your breath is that lovely even flow. Almost imagining as though your breath travels along your spine and softens across your shoulders. Feeling that balance of breath. Sinking down, we have a minute more here. So I'll let you know when it's time to deepen breath and begin to come out. For now, just sink in. So you'll find those 3 deeper breaths. And then you'll begin to just walk hands, slowly calming you back into an upright position, and you can lean over to your left hip. Maybe just enjoy that sensation of releasing any tension around the left hip. And then your right leg will swing its way around. So we find our way into a seated twist, Ardha Matsyendrasana. So taking the time to adjust, I didn't say on the last side, but if you need to, you can always sit up onto block or onto cushion just to support that right hip and to make sure that you feel that connection between your sits bones and your mat. Right hand can come behind you and left hand can either come to grab around the right knee, or maybe you find that twist with the elbow on the outside edge of the knee. So beginning by creating some intensity into that twist. So you really find that edge of sensation and then allowing that sensation to soften into a shape where you feel as though you could stay for a few minutes. So you still feel that twist. You feel that opening up on the outer edge of your right hip. You feel that grounded sensation for your pelvis. But it's not so forceful that you're kind of clenching your teeth or your jaw. Feels as though you're in balance in this variation of your twist. So there's a balance of the intensity of the twist and also that kind of calm and easeful flow of your breath. Maybe a feeling of clarity and of space in the mind. And so you're inviting energy to flow harmoniously, easily through your body, creating more of a feeling of balance. Just have perhaps 3 more breaths in your twist, 3 more feelings of maintaining that intensity of twist. When you're ready to, gently just unwinding, feeling tension melt out of the spine. Just turning over the other way, counter twist, just rebalancing. And then returning to the center and getting that nice stretch out with both of your legs. You might feel like a return of sensation into the joints of both of your legs. We'll turn our way forward. Just find our way back into down dog again and finding that pedal of your legs now. So can you connect to an even deeper feeling of stability in your limbs, but feeling how holding those poses, lubricating the joints of the body, maybe has invited more space and more openness. So your spine feeling longer, maybe your hips feeling more open. Feeling joints of the body stable, supportive, but also flexible, mobile. We'll bring our knees down when we're ready. Feel free to take a cat-cow if it feels as though your spine might need to. We'll sit our hips back and just swing the legs out in front, and we'll bring the soles of the feet together. So here you might want to grab blocks. So if you know that it feels more comfortable with your thighs supported, support your thighs. Or if you prefer to have that feeling of your legs kind of dropping down into space, let that be where you get to. We're going to come into a reclined butterfly. So we'll come onto the back. And you can choose how close your heels come up to your hips. So maybe kind of play around with the position of your legs. And then once you've found a comfortable position, just turn the palms of your hands either open or to the little finger edges. And allow the back of your head to rest down, and we come back into inner thighs here. Feeling as though there's an opening up and a lengthening from your inner ankle to your inner knee, your inner thigh, your inner hips. And then as though that sensation travels up each edge of your spine. Be around the face, the eyes, and then a feeling of sensation just resting almost at the back of the skull. Feeling that you could just sink and soften here. You still feel that intensity of opening, but perhaps with a little more ease here. Your breath just natural and easy. And the muscles of your face relax. Your shoulders feel as though they sink deeper onto your mat. So we'll enjoy a few more moments here before we come into Shavasana. And for your Shavasana, you can always keep the same shape with your body. Or you can let your legs stretch out and just come into a fully reclined position. Find what suits you, and if you do keep that reclined butterfly position, Allow your Shavasana to be more of a shift in kind of the focus and the intention of the pose. So rather than activating the body, allowing yourself to find deep rest there. So same goes if you find Shavasana in the traditional position, lying on your back, or feel free to lie however you feel comfortable. Wherever you find a deep sense of relaxation. So your Shavasana is a time for those poses, those movements, those shapes with your body, all of their benefits to integrate into every layer of yourself. That feeling of being able to hold poses for slightly longer, creating more tolerance physically, more resilience, and a greater connection to the sensations of your body. Feel yourself balanced here. Feel yourself stable, solid, grounded, but also open, flexible, mobile, and malleable. Enjoying the stillness and enjoying that slowing down, that turning inward in this season of change. Feeling free to rest here in Shavasana for as long as you like. And if you're feeling ready to continue with the rest of your day, maybe you gently draw a deeper breath in. That breath feeling as though it flows so easily through the whole of your body. That vital life force of your breath flowing through all of the channels of your body to the tips of your fingers, the tips of your toes. You can make some gentle movements as you gently begin to allow that life force, that breath energy, chi, to flow through the joints of your body, the muscles of your body. Perhaps you find a stretch out through one arm, other leg, and the other leg. Maybe a full body stretch, and you feel yourself in that lovely state of balance between restfulness and activation. So feeling energized, but also restored. Can take your time to just roll to one side and slowly transition back to a seat. Eyes can stay closed. You can keep your gaze inward for a few moments more, and then just draw the palms of your hands together, taking a moment to offer deep gratitude to yourself, to your body, to your practice, and allowing your practice to serve you as you continue out into the rest of your day. Thank you for joining me for this yin yoga practice. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the mat soon. Take care.